What's going on, everybody? My name is C4. Welcome back to the channel. And today, very excited. These are always my favorite videos to do them. That's why I'm glad that I can just do these whenever I want here on the secondary channel. And I appreciate each and every one of you that are clicking on the video and supporting the More C4 channel here. So give it a full-on go here. And I just recently got streaming enabled, so we might have a little bit of fun with the draft coming up. But we are here for a first wave of free agency mock draft for the Philadelphia Eagles. Before this, I've constantly done these mock drafts not knowing, is Zach Bond coming back? Is Mekhi Becton coming back? Are we going to surprisingly keep Milton Williams or Josh Sweat? And all those different scenarios make it difficult to do a mock draft. Now, we're still waiting for whatever the hell happens with Mekhi Becton. I think the longer it goes, maybe the more optimism that he returns. So I will say for this mock draft, I'm going to go under the assumption that there's a 50-50 chance Mekhi Becton returns. Therefore, that offensive guard spot that could potentially have Mekhi Becton, Kenyon Green, and Tyler Steen battling out, maybe we're not going to value that one as much. So if someone says C4, we're definitely getting a guard. Now, I did a mock draft simulator just a second ago. Just get a little bit of a clean run here. The best roll I think I've ever seen when we do this. And we got a very favorable one. The last time I did it, we had Tyler Booker, who I just said we're not doing guard, but if he's still there, and say we don't bring back Mekhi Becton, that could be in play for Philadelphia. That's a Howie Roseman pick. We have Malachi Starks here. Jahad Campbell is here. I'll tell you right now, if this is real life, I'm probably 55-45, still leaning towards Jahad Campbell. But because my last two Eagles mock drafts, I've had them going Jahad Campbell, I think we're going to go Malachi Starks. But I'm just going to put this debate is, if the discussion and talking points were, let's trade C.J. Gardner-Johnson, now we know it's all around contract and money, and he wanted a payday, he wanted to get a raise like Saquon Barkley did. If the reason why we were so willingly to let him go for maybe not the best price, like maybe there was Howie Roseman doing a solid giving to the Texans, because maybe we could have traded him to a shit non-playoff team and got a little bit more value, but we did right by him. And it seems like that was the vibes from everything that he's kind of said, CD said, post-trade. But maybe Vic's like, I think Sidney Brown's ready to go. I think, and Sidney Brown, I'm going to say this biasedly as a Canadian, but from what we've seen from Sidney Brown, he brings the juice. He's a big hitter, intense player. If he could start and be a productive player, and Vic says he's ready to start, I would be shocked if he doesn't emerge as a fan favorite in that sector. His play style is perfect for the Philadelphia Eagles. So if that's the case, I would look at someone like Jahad Campbell and be like, Jahad Campbell is, in terms of college football, he played like Zach Bond, and he's a much better athlete than Zach Bond. So would we rather a scenario where it's Sidney Brown starting at safety, and then we go Jahad Campbell, and then we have two Zach Bonds at linebacker? Because linebacker, everyone's just assuming that, Trotter Jr. can step up. That'd be an awesome scenario if it does happen, but that's not a for sure thing. Nakobe Dean might miss all next year, and if he does, are you going to pay Nakobe Dean? Because he has struggled to prove that he can be available for a full NFL season. So there's a lot of uncertainty at linebacker. And if you can get Jahad Campbell, who can do everything Zach Bond can do, maybe not as good dropping into coverage, but I wouldn't say with his athletic profile that he can't do that. He can rush the passer, incredibly versatile player. I think I'd rather two Zach Bonds with drafting Jahad Campbell and going Sidney Brown at safety than going Malachi Starks and then still having to figure out that linebacker spot. But to do something a little bit different, we will go Malachi Starks here with the loss of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Maybe Sidney Brown's only ever going to be like a depth guy, a special teamer, whatever. He wasn't drafted. He was, a third-round pick, fourth-round pick. So, those guys there, third-rounders like Steen. You like to be optimistic that they can go and develop into starters for you, but third-round picks that can just be depth guys that can step in a pinch and still give you good level play, those are still valuable. Those are still not missing on those picks. So in this scenario, we'll go get a very good player in Malachi Starks, who he could go earlier than this, to be completely honest with you. I think that I wouldn't say it's likely he's available at 32, but I think it's very probable that he could be, because safety is a position that's constantly undervalued. I don't think there's any teams, once he falls out of into the 20s, that desperately need a safety more than maybe Buffalo. If he falls past Buffalo, that'd be interesting. But there's going to be teams that may have fallen in love with Amenwari. Nick Amenwari had maybe one of the best combines we've ever seen a safety have. Like 6'2", 230 pounds, and was like jumping faster and running faster than anybody, jumping higher, not jumping, technically jumping upwards faster than anybody else that we've seen in a very long time. There's probably good people that might move him out of Malachi Starks, who usually Georgia puts these freak of nature athletes into the NFL, and Starks is just a good athlete, not a great athlete. However, when you got to do the drills, you got to watch these guys out there in their drills, Malachi Starks was head and shoulders. He was as good in the drills and on the field as Emanori was in the testing. So if he falls there, that would be outstanding business from the Philadelphia Eagles. So the rest of the league dogs him because he's not an elite athlete, and safety's a position that always falls in the draft, regardless of how good a player is. But at 32, between him and Jahad Campbell, I don't think there's many wrong decisions there. I'd be very happy with it. So we're going to explore what if Philly goes Malachi Starks here at 32. Second round at 64. I think you look, what do we got at linebacker? Okay. Not a Jahad Campbell type there. Barrett Carter's testing numbers from his pro day came in from Clemson. Not great. I think Stutzman, if we wanted to go with more of an athletic linebacker, could be in play. I think Chris Paul, stylistically, would be what Vic Fangio would look for. A little bit undersized, not Nakobe Dean size, but doesn't miss tackles. Outstanding tackler. You look at Knight, Carter, and Stutzman. I know Carter and Stutzman in particular have like double-digit missed tackles every year in college. I think Paul had like 6 and 5 or something like that. Single-digit missed tackles. So that is something that we would value, but not at this spot. Looking at the interior, what do you got edge? JT Tuimaleau. That is a Howie Roseman pick. As a guy that's played good football, maybe not great football, but he was a 5-star recruit. Boy, he might have been the number 1 recruit. I like Braden Swinson. Braden Swinson is your 2025 C4 Kenny Golladay Award winner. Remember Kenny Golladay? Remember not Giants Kenny Golladay? Remember Detroit Lion Kenny Golladay? Where it's like, holy, Northern Illinois, this guy's a beast. Very surprised. What a value pick. I remember watching the combine drills that day on NFL Network. I didn't know who Kenny Golladay was. They got this big-ass 6'4", he looked jacked, looked like a linebacker. And during the drills, I was like, this guy is so much better than all these other guys they're talking about, like not clear-cut first-rounders, but like Kenny Golladay at that point was like a 4th, 5th-round pick, like projected. And you had all these guys that were like second-round, bubble first-rounders. Like, Golladay is smoking these guys in the drill. He looks way more smoother, way more natural runner, and it ended up being like, just for me watching him during the combine, I was like, that guy's going to be good. He's getting undervalued. And what happened? He was undervalued and had a great career early on with the Detroit Lions. The player that I saw this year at the combine that I was like, okay, not overly familiar with him, but he is standing out above some of these other big names, was Braden Swinson from LSU. Really productive season this year at LSU. He's probably my value edge rusher that I'm like, okay, that's very interesting. So I wouldn't hate that. You look at the interior, Deion Walker, I've had him go to the Eagles in mock draft. His stock's pretty low right now, but he would be a upside pick. Josh Farmer, another guy, just a member of a bad Florida State team, but 2 years ago at Florida State, he was a really impressive D lineman. I'd like that. I like C.J. Weston of Indiana. I think Ty Robinson could be a Milton Williams successor. Great combine. You know, that 290-pound, I think he had like a 9.2, 9.3 RAS or something like that, if my memory serves me correct. You look at guards, there's some good guards there, but again, for this mock draft, we're going to go under the assumption it's 50-50 Mekhi Becton returns. At tackle, Cameron Williams from Texas has been available here. A lot of times at this swing, he's no longer on the board. Emory Jones could fill that vibe, though, of Stelton U, get your Lane Johnson successor in place. You look at the tight ends, Mason Taylor would be a great pick. This would be your let's repeat history. Let's pull what we did with Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, now on Dallas Goedert, and get a tight end in the second round. Mason Taylor. The other tight ends, like if at 96, there's Arroyo, a Fannin. Okay, remember, Fannin put up video game numbers last year at tight end, didn't test the best, but Bowling Green's head coach is now on the Eagles offensive staff. So there's going to be someone that's going to vouch for this guy. We have the best case of that. Gunnar Helm is a really good player. Terrence Ferguson's one of my favorite tight ends. So for me personally, I think Mason Taylor might bring really good value, and I would prefer him over all these other players. But I'll be honest with you, man. I think JT Tuimaleau, that's a Howie Roseman pick right there. 5-star, productive player for Ohio State. Maybe never lived up to the expectations of being one of the best high school players in the country. And I'm not going to do any of these trades right now because every time I do those trades, they're ridiculous, and I can just cheese and get so many, like, 4th-round picks. But I think, Howie Roseman is going to value the trenches at some point. And I think looking at that board now, it's annoying because now Braden Swinson's still available at 96. And if I would have went Mason Taylor at 64 and Braden Swinson at 96, I'd probably love that a little bit more than what tight ends are still available here, which is my dude Terrence Ferguson. Oh, that's annoying. Can I redo that? No? Okay. Well, looking at the players that we got left here. Damn, that's a bummer. I mean, there's three guys that are Chris Paul, Josh Farmer, Terrence Ferguson. I think if we're going to be Howie Roseman, I would go Josh Farmer here. Continue to build in the trenches, get a player whose stock's a little bit low. If this was a year ago, Josh Farmer would probably be a lock to go in the second round. The fact that he's available at the asset in the third round because Florida State was just a garbage football team last year. I think there's some value there, and we've completed the prophecy for Howie Roseman. We've built in the trenches. We got a blue chip value Georgia pick. And now it's time to have a little bit of fun. So at the tight end spot, Ferguson's still there, baby. Let's go. Is Chris Paul still there? Damn it. Yeah, I'd go Ferguson here. I'm going to let me get one of my C4 guys. I think if you don't go Ferguson, I think Jalen Connors from Texas Tech, Fidone from Nebraska, I believe might have met with the Eagles at some point. Both those guys tested well. So there could be some value. But Ferguson's my dude, man. He was probably the most athletic tight end at the combine. Gunnar Helm hurt himself, so we didn't get an accurate representation there. But I think for the Eagles, if we can get Ferguson now that we're into the 4th and 5th round, that would be awesome value. So we're going to kick at linebacker. Stutzman's still there. So I think we run that one up to the podium. I think you can do a lot worse than him athletically. I think Vic can probably work on the missed tackles. That is really nice value for him to still be available there. Oh, man, I still think God damn it, man. If I could have got Mason Taylor. Oh. Okay, no, this is our mock draft. We're staying with it. We're getting there. This site's loving it. So now we are in here. This is where I think, do we still have? Oh, we do. We go Jalen Travis. Jalen Travis is 6'8", tested out the gym at the combine. Had like a 9 RAS. That is a perfect, out of any tackle. All right, there's 3 that I would say would be the day 3 Stoutland U candidates. You have Jalen Travis would be my number 1. Holland Pierce from Rutgers would be number 2 just because he's 6'8", like 370 pounds. That's just like, oh. Not saying it's Jordan Mailata 2.0. Jordan Mailata is an absolute unicorn at the position. But when you get guys that big, if Jeff Stoutland goes, that's all you need. That's all Howie Roseman needs to be like, all right, let's go. I think the third one would be Logan Brown. Logan Brown was a former 5-star recruit. Tested pretty well out of Kansas. I think he's likely already off the board in real life. Should get overdrafted. But he would be those would be the 3 tackles that I think would be outstanding Jeff Stoutland U. I think on a little bit lesser extent, Christian Leitenhan from Oregon State, another big 6'8" player. Could be pretty interesting, but I'm not going to lie. This is pretty much a perfect freaking mock draft for the Eagles right now. I think you look at the running backs. Jaden Blue's speed would be very interesting. Quarterback factory, Maybe, hey, I'd be down if you want to bring another Canadian. But it's time. It's time we let Tanner McKee finally have his spot. So I think we're looking here now. JJ Pegas is a fun player. He could be a fullback. I mean, we got Ben Van Summeren kind of playing that role. David Walker put up elite production at a small school. Ingram Dawkins is another interesting name. Big-time Georgia athlete. Doesn't really have the production, per se. Into the secondary, I do like Jordan Hancock. He's a nickel. Safety. Randall had a huge combine. Malachi Moore has great tape. But we already got our safety in Malachi Strickland. I think Malachi Moore could be in the argument of BPA. Like his stock fell, but he was a couple years ago at Alabama. Looked like the next big thing in that secondary. I mean, we're just beating other bush with the final 2 picks. So we're gonna go. I'm gonna go Isaac Tesla here first. 6'4", put up like a 9.5 RAS, big-time athlete, small school player, transferred to Arkansas, didn't put up big-time numbers at Arkansas, not a pass-heavy team, they're very much run first. So I'd go there, and then I would finish up. I can't go with the enemy right here, Trevor Etienne, who transferred away from if he was a Florida Gator, I'd make this pick probably a couple rounds earlier. The fact that he transferred to Georgia and talked shit on the way out, Fuck you, buddy. Final pick. I mean, honestly, I'll go Malachi Moore strictly because if we're looking that down on the depth chart, I think Malachi Moore could be like our Vontae Maddox type. Nickel, safety, wear a lot of hats, cover a lot of positions. But that's the end of the round. I'm going to be honest, that is one of the best mock drafts I think I've ever got on this site for the role for the Philadelphia Eagles. I would be over the moon with this draft class. I think if you're looking at, I don't think Stutzman's still there at 161. That's probably the only one, though, that might truly be like, I don't think that's going to happen. I think everyone else, maybe Malachi Moore gets drafted a little bit earlier, but I think Tesla, I think Travis, I think Ferguson, I think Farmer, I think Tui Maliau, I think Starks, all very reasonable, very realistic to potentially be in that range for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'd love to hear what you guys think about this mock draft. In particular, I'd love to hear the little debate I had with that first pick. If Malachi Starks is on the board and Jahad Campbell's on the board, who are you picking? Are you picking Starks, blue chip safety? Don't even think about Sidney Brown. We're going to go Starks and Reed Blankenship as our safety going forward. Or are you like me, maybe a little optimistic that Sidney Brown's getting a little bit of juice from Vic Fangio as a potential starter, and if Jahad Campbell's there and having two potential Zach Bonds, that may outweigh the fact of going out and getting a safety to replace C.J. Gardner-Johnson right away. Love to hear what you guys think in the comment section below. That will do it for me today, guys. If it is your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. We'll be back before too long with more Eagles postseason content. Appreciate you. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.